digital ID going to even look like? I mean, a lot of us have iPhones, and we do have to hold up our iPhones, to our faces in order to unlock them, right? Or they used to do the thumbprint. Like, what's the future looking like with these digital IDs?
Well, if you look through this document, it's called Our Common Agenda. It actually came out in 2021, but really what people have been deceived a lot about is the connection between the World Economic Forum and their multinational global public-private partnership, which really makes a lot of this work. A lot of these companies that are involved in the tech side and on the back end of this are partners of the World Economic Forum. In 2019, they had been working together for years, but in 2019, before COVID, the World Economic Forum and the UN put out a joint agreement that they were going to team up to fast forward the 2030 agenda, also known as the Sustainable Development Goals, which is what a lot of this is about. So in that document, it goes through iterations of this digital ID to the point where they are actually talking about surveillance under your skin, meaning that there would be microchips, which is happening in some countries. Sweden and other places are doing pilot programs. But essentially, it is a full track and trace surveillance system, not different than they already have in communist China, and under the guise of sustainable development goals. In particular, this one, if people know about the sustainable development goals and what that is, and Agenda 2030, that is number 16, and it's about a digital compact, global digital compact, and equity in the digital space worldwide. But at the end of the day, it's about a track and trace kind of ledgered surveillance system that would be behavior modification and have an aspect to it that is punitive.
Right. Yeah, they sell this like this is going to make your life better. I mean, that's how they sell it, right? Like this will make life more convenient. I mean, imagine if you just had a microchip under your skin, you wouldn't have to remember which medications or which vaccines you've taken. You just show
Right.
that, they scan it, and boom, it shows up the chart for your doctor. And that way you don't have to be transferring records back and forth. So they sell it like this is a good thing for you. And a lot of people buy that. I mean, it's just like with the iPhone. I've got one, and it's just difficult to get away from it. When I think about, man, this thing's tracking my location. It's got my face on file. It's, all this is happening, but it's so convenient. How do I get rid of it? And that's, I think, how they're getting us into this new way. But let's talk about the real dangers of this. So let's say, okay, yeah, you've got this microchip that's going to say all of your medical records, including your vaccines. You've got a digital ID that's somehow connected to your banking account. So it makes it easy. You can just easily get your money from the government. You can easily spend your money, right? So everything just seems really, really convenient. But there's some serious downsides potentially to this.
Yeah, well, the first thing that people, and then the American people really have to understand this, because if we go into this, there is no coming back. And that is really, really important for people to understand. This is being fueled. It is my belief right now that there's a billionaire oligarchy in America. They're pretty, you see who they are. We got the Larry Finks. He's very involved in this. He's also on the board of the World Economic Forum and involved in China and many other things. So he's one of the people. So this is attached to, of course, the central bank digital currency, Executive Order 14067. And that is also attached to, which many people didn't pay attention to, in the National Defense Authorization Act. Joe Biden and his group, I believe that they're more concerned with the globalist citizen, goals, the sustainable goals. They often bring up 2030 and that they're trying to do that, which is what this is about. They have a summit coming up in September where Joe Biden is expected to sign on to this new Our Common Agenda, which has this in it. But what they are really doing here, and it's been developed, it was ID 2020. It was the Gates Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, World Economic Forum, UN, and a bunch of partners of the private Western central banks. So this would also include, your money wouldn't be your money anymore. It'll be programmable tokens. Instead of money, basically, it would be on a ledger system, which was in that National Defense Authorization Act, was the money to fund basically a blockchain to put every American citizen, every citizen of the world, honestly, onto a blockchain system. And that would also include all of their other alliances. So they have an alliance with the World Health Organization. They have an alliance with the World Bank, with the IMF. They have an alliance with the also with the IPCC. So this digital ID would not just include your vaccine status and your health records, but also there was an executive order about biometric data. So that would be on there as well. what you spend your money on would be on there. So there's the ESG score, digital track and trace of also your carbon usage. So they signed on in Glasgow, the Biden group, with Kerry and Gore, to something called Climate Trace, which would be kind of your climate score. And then they also have another whole level of that, which is the World Health Organization just had their meeting, where they, the Biden administration and his representatives that he sent there from our nation, were actually pushing for these amendments that would allow the World Health Organization to call a pandemic. Once called, then that would also interact with our biometric track and trace controlled app, financial, whatever model that they're doing at that iteration with the digital ID. And you would be basically all of our rights in terms of our rights by the Constitution Bill of Rights would be superseded by the emergency declaration. So at that point, you have to realize everything that they're doing here is to consolidate power into this group of people. And as the people at the top, Klaus Schwab or Gutierrez or, Tedros or Noah Harari, when they explain it on stage and all these technocrats stand up and clap, they're clapping about something which really is about behavior modification, control, and surveillance and, sustainable development goals. We hear a lot about that, but I would beg to ask people to look at them and maybe think sustainable, what does that mean? And sustainable for who? And then in order to have those goals, they need to be surveilling every human basically on the planet for consumption of everything, of anything. That's also animals and natural resources. But then you go to the next level of that, and it's really not sustainable, is not really the right word. It actually should be predictable, controllable, manageable. And then the next question is, by whom? And that is not the United States of America. And this central bank digital currency is not going to be American. And we all know that they want a one-party system, it appears, coming up. But I would say to both left and right, Republican and Democrat, that are picking some side, that control that they want, that one party, would really be this globalist governance model. And I don't believe they're hiding it. And I believe that this is the way that they are going to implement that.